Hello everyone, and welcome to Bottles' Art Gallery Tour. We will be looking through some fine art pieces here today. Some will provoke, some will disgust, some will intrigue. But most of all, they'll make you think. Ah, what a fine piece this one is. Ib, or Ib if you want to be wrong. This is quite the piece indeed. Don't get too into it. It may suck you in and never let you go. Ib is an indie horror survival puzzle RPG game. Yes, I am just listing genres. Created by Corey in 2012. You play as Ib, a 9-year-old girl who goes to a museum with her parents to go look at some art pieces. On this particular day, the museum is showcasing one of the most famous artists of all time, Guertena. As Ib explores each floor of the museum, she makes it to the top and looks at the biggest art piece of them all, the World of Guertena. After viewing this masterpiece, the museum starts seeming off. Everyone that was in the museum, including Ib's parents, have disappeared, the lights are out, and she's locked in. She is led by living paint into one of Guertena's paintings where she explores a mysterious part of the museum. Through her travels, she ends up meeting Gary, an effeminate man that starts to act as Ib's caretaker during their time in the museum. They realize through their two experiences that the roses that they picked up along the way are tied to their life force. The red rose is tied to Ib, and the blue rose is tied to Gary. Ib and Gary try to find their way out of the museum and back to the real world. Along the way, they meet a third person trapped in the museum named Mary. When they find out that Mary has a yellow rose, they start traveling with her. Further in, Gary gets separated from Ib and Mary. They decide to go their separate ways to try and find a way to reunite. Along the way, Gary finds out that Mary is actually a painting created by Guertena. We find out that Mary is trying to escape from the painting world and place herself in the real world. Gary, sensing that Ib may be in danger, makes haste to save Ib from Mary's weird violent nature. Finally reuniting, Ib and Gary get away from Mary and go into a part of Guertena's art that looks similar to a child's drawing of a town. They unlock Guertena's toy box and they get pushed inside by Mary. At this point, depending on how you acted during the game, will determine the fate of the trio. At this point, Mary could have possession of Gary's rose, ripping it to shreds. If this happens, Gary will die. If not, Gary will live. You may also use Gary's lighter to burn Mary's painting, killing her once and for all. The true canon ending sees Ib and Gary escaping Guertena's world and finding themselves back in the museum. When Ib finds him, they remember their time in the painting world and promise to see each other again someday as Ib leaves with her parents. The ending I got when I first played was what is considered the worst ending. Mary kills Gary and sneaks out of the painting when Ib leaves. When Ib meets back up with her parents, Mary has somehow integrated herself into Ib's family, becoming her sister from now on. That's cosmically terrifying. The museum setting of Ib really is what makes this game feel unique. Being able to look at the pixels of each of these paintings that, by the end of the game when they start repeating, you start recognizing as that particular piece of art, it's really interesting how Guertena, by the end of this experience, really does become as real of an artist as Vermeer. That may be ridiculous to say, but what really does separate Vermeer from Guertena? Both artists drew things from their life, made lifelike paintings that looked like they could jump off the canvas, and was shrouded in mystery for the majority of not just their life, but most of history. Hell, the painting Procuress, painted in 1656, is only theorized to be a self-portrait of Vermeer. Bet you didn't think you were going to get a little art lesson in this video now, did ya? Now, where am I going with this? Why even make this comparison between Vermeer and Guertena? I really just wish to show you how effectively Ib makes Guertena feel like a real artist. With that being said, it's really interesting that the most important aspect of Ib's world is never explored. From the get-go, Guertena is an artist that is shrouded in mystery. Even outside of his world, people only seem to be wondering what his art pieces must be about. Even when looking at the painting, The Lady in Red, They can only speculate that she may be a real person, but even that isn't a guarantee. In the entire game, there are only 2 pieces of information that you can maybe find about Guertena himself. The first is a very, very vague self-portrait. All you can tell about Guertena is that he's an adult and he wears a long-sleeved white shirt. Fun fact, you can actually see that he is painting Mary in this portrait. The other bit of information comes from his diary. He believes that you can impart your soul in your artwork in order for it to come to life, which is an amazing metaphor that seems to have been taken literally in the events of this game. Other than that though, we know absolutely nothing about Guertena himself. Honestly, I feel like the mystery of Guertena is what elevates this game from being terrifying to beautifully terrifying. I love that this game refrains in the way that it does. There's no explanation of Guertena's world, we don't meet Guertena, we don't solve the mysteries of Guertena at all. We go into this world, avoid his malicious paintings, and then leave. I can imagine some people would criticize this aspect of the game because it seems like things just happen until you leave, almost like there was no point in going on this adventure in the first place, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Think about the experience of going into a museum. If you've never been in a museum, I highly recommend the experience. When you walk into a museum, you look at all of these art pieces within this building, and honestly, it really does feel like you've entered an alternate world of the artist's creation. The most interesting thing about appreciating the art you are looking at is that more than likely, you know nothing of the artist. You may know the artist's name because it's written everywhere, but you may not have a face to the name or any context on why certain art pieces were made at all, and since there is a lack of context here, you are free to interpret the piece in whatever way is the most meaningful to you. Sometimes the art piece can evoke something like an intimidating or even scary feeling within you. This is why making Guertena feel as close to an actual artist as possible, as well as the mysterious nature of this artist, elevates this game from being just terrifying to beautifully terrifying. You walk in, allow the art to consume you, and then leave slightly different than when you arrived. That's art. That's Ib. What do you guys think? Do you think I'm looking way too deeply into this little indie game, or do you think I'm right on the money? Put your thoughts in the comments below, as I'd love to see your fan theories on what is going on in this mysterious game. If you want to help out the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Down in the description below, you can find our merch store, which has our shirts, mugs, and stickers. If you really want to help out the channel and get a shout out in every video, like Andrew's Retro Games, hit that join button to become a channel member, which allows you to get videos earlier than everyone else, as well as exclusive emojis during our live streams. Speaking of live streams, here's our stream schedule for this week, and be sure to join us so we can talk live. Also, tune in on Friday to see my review of Kirby's Extra Epic Yarn. With that, I bid you, my well-esteemed ghouls, adieu.